we are going to go searching for funding. And what we're hoping to show you is a variety of funding sources, both federal, I'll talk about federal stuff, internal grants, intramural, as well as foundation grants. I'm Paula Gregory, for any poor person who doesn't already know that. I'm the Associate Dean of Faculty and Research Development. Meredith.
I'm Meredith Fogleman. I'm the Director of Research Enhancement Assistance Program in the Office of Research.
And Zoe.
I'm Zoe Metcalf. I work in the Office of Institutional Advancement. I'm the Foundation Relations Manager, and I work very closely with Meredith's office to make sure that we're surfacing private foundation opportunities for the researchers and the programs in the building, and handling those correctly, either through OSP or through our office.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides and get started. So we thought it'd be fun. It is almost the holiday, to just talk about, for the new year, let's think about are there some maybe untapped resources or just things that we haven't really thought about as funding sources. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is the NIH guide. This is where you find all the new announcements for any new funding opportunities and for old opportunities, things that are already existing. So I'm going to and try to go over here. And can y'all see my screen still or no?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. This one, sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So the NIH, this is today's NIH guide. It comes out with new announcements and new notes and things pretty much every day. And one of the things that we can help you with is knowing what areas of research you are working on. We can keep an eye out for things. Some of you are already some of my victims and you receive these announcements. But you can see that here's a new program announcement that just came out today from the National Cancer Institute about a program, project, application. So this is just the generic program project announcement, but also things like notice of special interest. These are important. If your research falls in this area, you want to play this up. If an institute has said, we have a special interest in optimizing data storage and utilization for sequence reading, then you want to say, well, we are doing that. And, play up something that meets this notice of special interest. So I know one of the things I've talked to some of our undergrad faculty about are our being ways to pair up things that they have expertise in, which is teaching and creating online content, and things that we have scientific expertise in, and that there's funding for. So one of the things that I had done is to show you guys some R25s. There's one right there. So this database is searchable. I got to change glasses for some reason. Now I can see. So you can see R25s are education grants funded by the NIH. Some of you might not even know that there are such things. And So team-based design in biomedical engineering education, this might be something that we could partner up with one of the schools, like the main campus has biomedical engineering. Research ethics, research education program. And this is a very broad program for several of these. This can be anything from something for high school students or teachers, all the way up through things for junior faculty. This is one that we've talked about trying to apply and doing a partnership with Dr. Becky Cunningham and Joseph Miller. It's a gender research education program. So Dr. Cunningham's expertise is in gender differences, biological gender differences. Joseph's expertise and interest is in equity, but also in online education. And so our idea is, can we brainstorm and come up with topics that courses for skills development or curriculum or methods development? So this is just an example of where we might be able to kind of pair things up. And these are the institutes that are supporting it. The Brain Initiative, short courses related to the eye, National Eye Institute, genome curriculum development for medical students. I've talked to some of the folks up in CHI about the Center for Human Identification, can't think of the word. So this is just one example of being able to search, kind of knowing some of the mechanisms, but also obviously you don't have to know the mechanisms. You can just put some words in here. And I'm going to call on somebody. Scott Maddox. We don't typically think of you doing your research through NIH, but oh my God.
I'll take their money.
Yeah, exactly. So let's think of some search term that we could try for your research.
Respiratory.
I think that may be a little too. How about
You want something more obscure? Is that why you called on me?
well, I was just trying to see if we could possibly take somebody who we wouldn't naturally think of.
Okay.
You're an NSF kind of person, but are there some things we could find at NIH? What about imaging?
Sure.
I know that you're interested in doing some imaging analysis, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what we can, I bet we come up with. Oh yeah, lots. So some of these are obviously related to cancer, not.
Try climate.
It helps if you spell it correctly.
A lot of climate change stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of NIEHS, and I know we don't have anyone here funded by NIEHS, that's environmental health sciences. But that is something maybe we should think about. Again, it might be something where we could partner up with people on the main campus. And you can see that there are a variety of things related. So some are R01s, R61, R33. I know these aren't directly related with what you work on, Scott, because I think I have a good idea what you work on. But the idea is that there may be more in here than what you first think of as just, cancer or minority health disparities or aging, things that we're really good at. There may be other things. So let's try. Let's try something else. Somebody give me an idea.
Medical ethics.
We'll just go with ethics.
Okay.
And there's lots. They're not really specifically interested in, so I'm not sure but Genome has a LC grants that are R21s, R03s, and R01s to do research into ethical issues like, this international research ethics education. So there is a good bit of ethics funding. Some of it's old, like this one from August 2017, and some will be new. And you can play with the release date or more importantly, the expiration date. But here's one right here, Bioethics Research Training Program, International Bioethics Training Program. So there's a variety. There are still some funding mechanisms at NIH that I've never even heard of until recently. One of them being the R33. And so these kind of tend to be a little different from institute to institute. But like here's neuroscience on substance use disorders, development of novel non-steroidal contraceptive methods, so women's health, those kinds of things.
Dr. Gregory, some people in the chat have suggested some search terms.
Yay. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Y'all
okay.
gonna have to monitor the chat for me because
Health disparities, machine learning.
okay, health disparities. I'm sorry, we have a huge grant here already.
Yeah.
You should talk to no, I'm just kidding. There are some interesting, but one of the issues that the school is looking at is whole health. And there's not really something specifically called whole health, but I did some search. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I forgot to uncheck that. For health. So addressing minority health. So minority health disparities come up when you have health, but as do things like occupational health and safety. We have a clinical area that is on patient safety. So there are, again, this is one here where they're asking for information, National Institutes of Health, Sexual and Gender Minority Research Office. So there are a variety of things related to health that are not just minority health disparities. But let's see what happened. Yeah. And I think what is interesting here is you see there's again, R01s, which are 5 years, really big grants, but you need a lot of data. R03s, which are 2 years, the smallest research grant you can get from the NIH, designed to help you get some preliminary data. R21s, which are 2 year, a little more money, but they require a little more preliminary data before you could be funded. These are through NCI, but other institutes also fund these smaller mechanisms. NIDCR, we don't quite fit with that. There we go. Machine learning, let's try that. So here's some are, again, it's only going to bring up, if you put two words, it'll, like whole health, it'll give you whole, it'll give you whole health, and it'll give you health. So you do have to kind of play with it, but I do think this is something that people haven't really spent much time looking at. And I have found some very interesting announcements that I think fit with our faculty's research interests. I'm going to try what Byrne put in here. Here's one. So apparently aging is really interested in it. So the other thing that we want to do, let's say we found something that we think, oh, well, that sounds really interesting. But, are we competitive for this? Let me try. So I had found one that was through NINR, which is the Nursing Institute. I'm going to pull it up. And you see there's a variety of it. And let me make something clear. You do not have to be a nurse to apply to the NINR. So again, some of the areas of research that we would be strong in, or that we're interested in here at UNT HSC are things that fall under NINR. Here's one that's going to run out pretty quickly, but it's been funded since 2020. So let's look at this. In a different database. Which is the Reporter, which is also part of NIH. This is a database of grants that have been funded. So it's interesting. So here we can see there's National Institute of Mental Health, National Institute of Minority Health Disparities. This is the Robert Wood Johnson. The other thing we can do with Reporter is go in and say, GATE. Let's try that one. And here we can see what grants are currently funded to study GATE and what different institutes have funded them and what different mechanisms they're funded under. So I think it is important strategically to be able to say, oh, everybody who got funding for GATE research, there's a lot of them that are part of the VA. Let's just say that. I'm not saying that's what's up here, but there are a lot of VA. So how could we do that research? Well, that would be a little harder because I'm not sure that we have any connections to the VA or any VA collaborators. On the other hand, what if, let's try. So here we have NIMHD. And I think what's interesting here is that we see some big schools, Mass General, Drexel, but we also see schools like University of Alaska Anchorage that are getting funded. by this. So that makes me feel more comfortable that we might be competitive for these. We can't really compete head on if everybody who's funded for something is a Harvard or Yale. On the other hand, I think we can feel very comfortable when there's a variety of sizes of types of schools. The other thing is when you're in Reporter, you can pull up the abstract of that grant. What's the title? What's their number? This is a K01, so this is a junior faculty grant at the University of Alaska Anchorage. This is the PI. And then down here is the information about when did it start? When is it going to end? Those kinds of things. And even any publications that have come out. Right now, there's not publications yet, but there may be publications that have come out of this funding. So this is a really good tool to do like second level. If you're thinking, you've gone and played with the NIH guide and you feel like, oh, I've got a good idea for something. Let's see who else has already got these kind of grants, or what are those grants about? Or you may just go to Reporter to get some ideas. How do people put grants together on, GATE? What are those about, etc. So, any ideas about, like I said, sometimes you might just go straight to Reporter. You've got an idea for a topic that you want to study. On the other hand, sometimes you might just say, what's an education grant on gender? Let's do this for Dr. Cunningham and Dr. Millar. So some of this is going to again be gender as far as gender equity, pipeline for graduate education, etc. Let's try one more with curriculum. That's something So mixed methods research training. So again, that might not be that you might not have thought of putting that into a grant, mixed. So that's what I'm saying is I think you can get some ideas here of what kinds of things are fundable. Now, all you have is the abstract. You're not going to have the full grant, but let's say you read one of these and you're like, wow, this is really interesting. They've done so-and-so. You might want to get in touch with those people and talk to them. I'm thinking of doing something similar, but with a different audience, or I want to use the same mixed methods or whatever. This is a way to find out who else is out there. The other thing you want to do, let's say you decide you want to do a mixed methods research training program. You're not going to call it a mixed methods research training program because that title is already kind of, there. You want to make the title of your grant different. So this would allow you to kind of have an idea what's already out there. So any other ideas about or questions about using NIH stuff? I see something in the chat. Let's see. Artificial. Okay. I think there's already a big grant on that, Dr. Sambamurthy. I think that you need to talk to JK because I think that is one of the grants that he just got. But we could see what else is out there. Let's see who else has an artificial intelligence grant. Let's see what happens.
Katie,
Wow. Oh, so there we go. Interestingly, all right, let's see if we can add some words. And then we get into some of these big grants, U24s, P30s, big program project type grants. But I think it's a good place to start to kind of play with it. Oh, is it possible to find pipeline? Yes, we already have found that, Amber. It's called the Bridges to the Baccalaureate program, which is funded by the NIGMS. So let me. Because they have a bridges to the doctorate and a bridges to the back. Oh, I don't know if I spelled that right. We'll find out. No, let's see bridges. And here's the Bridges to the Baccalaureate Research Training Program. This is something I've already discussed with Dr. Kerr as being where we've already got a partnership with the community college. This requires that you be a bachelor's granting institution partnered with a non-bachelor's granting institution. So some of these, it helps to kind of know, like I know a lot of these programs that already exist. Doesn't mean I know them all, but I knew that there had been a Bridges program and I was like, I wonder what those rules are if we could fit. So that's when I pulled it up. The other thing is the Bridges program is funded as a T34. And so the new funding, and you look at who's funded, yes, Vanderbilt's funded, but so is Boise State. And so is Kansas State. So these are not huge schools that are already doing it. And again, we can look at, what did they, as far as, they describe it in the abstract, what are they doing? Now, we have some junior faculty on here who I really would like them to apply for some KO1s, some career development awards. Well, okay, what could they be working on? Let me just see. How about stroke? And the thing about stroke is that several different institutes are going to fund it. So here we see NIDDK is funding one, NINDS, which is typical neurology and stroke, is funding some, but so is child health, so is heart, lung, and blood, so is NIDCR, which is communication disorders. Sorry, took me a second. So there's a variety of institutes that might fund, when we're always usually thinking stroke probably goes to NINDS because of the S. But you can see right here, they're looking at electronic cigarette use in cardiovascular health and stroke for heart, lung, and blood. So don't always think, oh, this is exactly where it needs to go. The K awards are a little different, just like the T grants, in that they don't have a standing study section. They are institute specific. Okay. What else for our research folks? Stephen Matthews. Let's see what we can find to do research. Clinical research coordinators. I'm just going to put the whole thing in and see what happens. So some of these are disease specific, but involve clinical research coordinators, or, we could say clinical research coordinator education. And I will tell you this, NIH sees the word training as being very different from education. So we might come up with something where we could get a grant to help expand our CRM training program. Let me look at who else is here. Yeah. Okay. So before because I don't want to take all the time, I have another thing I want to show you. Sorry. The Fogarty International. So one of the problems we have with getting fellowships for our graduate students is some of our students are international and they don't qualify for the regular F30, F31. And so we've started trying to use this Fogarty International Center, but this could be any kind of international collaboration that someone wants. So these are all non-NIH funding opportunities, and you can search it by pre-doc, post-doc, health professional, by faculty, by institutions, by travel, etc. And so some of these are foundations, and some are unique. I found one just yesterday that I sent to one of our graduate students specifically for women in pre-doctoral training who are from Africa. And they had a list of specific countries that the person had to be from. So it was a very interesting fellowship opportunity, and they're going to explore it. So this is another one that's actually quite helpful if you have international trainees, or if you want to start some international collaborations, etc. Okay. So quiet. Any questions about that one? Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm trying to do the wrong thing here. Oh, yeah. Let's see, sorry. So the third federal funding resource is the National Science Foundation. And I think anatomy has really opened my eyes to the different types of funding that's available there. Everything from pre-doc to post-doc to faculty to educational research, etc. So these are the different areas. So biological sciences. The difference for NSF is they don't want you to focus on a disease. which is actually really good for some of our basic scientists. Some of you guys want to look more at a process, a cellular process, etc. So this is a good place to start, is their research areas, and then you can pick those that you think fit better with what you may be interested in. I think for our undergrad education faculty right here, undergraduate education, right there. But also graduate education, this includes fellowships, this includes developing curriculum, etc. So the NSF is like I said, it's just a little bit different, but the grants are pretty much arranged in the same basic way, and they have a you can look at who's been awarded, search their awards just like you can with the NIH. And so climate, let's see what happens, Scott. Ooh. Only 3,000 awards related to climate and respiratory. So again, you can go in and see some of these are nitrogen fixation. I know Scott is interested in the evolution and the change and anthropology of the nose and the climate. But there are many other things like education grants, collaborative research grants, etc. And these are big grants. So the NSF is smaller than the NIH. Their budget is smaller, but for some areas of research, it is a much better mechanism. The other thing is you can look by state. So, you can look by the type. We were interested in Directorate for STEM Education. We might look at that, and then we might say, well, I want to see which ones are in Texas. And there we get a more doable, answer, in the sense there are only 13 STEM education grants in Texas. Are we eligible for NSF funding? Absolutely. Does the main campus have more NSF funding than we do? Absolutely. But that, to me, also means that we have an opportunity to collaborate with people who maybe have more expertise in this area. So I'm going to stop talking, stop sharing, answer any questions, and then let Meredith and Zoe tell y'all about this other money. I'm going to send you guys the slides, which have hyperlinks. So I have 3 slides. So I will send those directly to you. Thank you for asking. Then it'll make it easier. But the NIH webpage is pretty easy. If you go to nih.gov and then in the search thing, their search thing, unlike the one at UNT, their search thing works. And so if you put in, RFAs or grants or whatever, it's going to take you where you need to go.
Hey, Paula, this is Kisa.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, thank you for showing us how to use the guide. I actually never used the NIH guide. I've never gone to the website to use it, so this is a good demonstration. But I did want to say I do get the emails. You know how you get, I don't know what they call it, like table of contents or something with the list of new grants every, I think it's weekly. So I don't know if it's like the guide abbreviated or the guide updated.
Yeah.
They can email it to you every week. So I just wanted to share that.
No, that's a great point, Kisa. You can actually go in and ask them to send you stuff, and you can put in some search terms that relate to your research so that they only send you things related to your research. The problem is with that, I'm going to just say one little problem. you may have missed something that has already been announced. You know, maybe it's
Yeah.
something, because some of these announcements are good for 5 years.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
you start searching, you know, today, you might have missed some of those where it's kind of fun to go in and play with the
You're
guide.
right, because sometimes I miss the email, or I'm too busy, I just delete the email, and so, yeah, I
Yeah.
see your point.
The other thing is sometimes people will read a announcement and say, oh, that's not really me. So I had a friend, he worked on cachexia in cancer, but he was working on the molecular level, and a program announcement came out that was more patient oriented. I said, well, you know, it's worth calling them people and talking to them and seeing whether you fit or not. And he did. And that was his first R01, and he's now the head of a cancer center. Now, I didn't have anything to do with all that. I just helped him get that first grant. But the point is, even when you read something and it's kind of related, you say, well, I don't know. It's worth talking to the program people to see if they think that there's, you know, you could fit. All right, take it away, Meredith and Zoe.
Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you for attending today, and thank you for Dr. Gregory for her wealth of knowledge. You obviously can't duplicate
learned
that
a
right
ton.
now. I
Yeah,
know.
I learned a ton.
Yeah. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about Grant Forward. I'm going to provide a couple of demonstrations for you, and then I'll turn it over to Zoe, and then we'll talk about intramural funding opportunities here in the Office of Research. So if you haven't logged in or you don't have an account to Grant Forward, reach out to me. I'm happy to set it up for you and provide you with a one-on-one tutorial. But I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples right now. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okie dokie. Okay. So Grant Forward, once you log in with your UNT login information, it's going to populate to this page. And what you're going to do is you're going to select grants and search grant opportunities. And for simplicity purposes, I just kind of have some of this pre-populated to keep it flowing. But this is how it will appear. You'll have one box of all key phrases and keywords. If you like to expand that, you can also enter in any keywords or phrases that you want this database to query. And the third box is anything you want to exclude. So for simplicity purposes, we're going to search type 2 diabetes. We're also going to include health disparities. And when you search, 167 matches pop up. So in this example, what I'm going to do is show you how to maneuver through Grant Forward, how to save your search, and how to mark this in case you want to come back to it. Okay. So we're going to select comprehensive care for adults with type 2 diabetes from populations with health disparities. It's R01. And within the Grant Forward page, it's going to provide information you will find off of the funding opportunity. So it'll be a description. This is compressed. I'm not going to expand it at this time because it's quite extensive. And plus, I don't want to make anyone motion sickness scrolling up and down via Zoom. It also lists the sponsors associated with it, the deadlines, eligibility information. Again, this is quite extensive and very long. I'm not going to expand this right now. It lists your applicant types, which is great because it includes minority, disability, senior researcher, early career investigator, as well as organizations eligible to apply for this. Applicant locations and activity locations are very important when you're querying this information because sometimes it's specific to a certain county or state. Not this case. And then it breaks it down into timelines and then categories. So this is from medical science and breaks it down to health and nutrition. So this is the first page you see when you click on an opportunity. I'm going to scroll back up and I'm going to point out something. Dr. Rong Ma has created a profile in Grant Forward and he has entered in his research interest. And since he's done that, the system has matched Dr. Ma and his interest with this opportunity. So this is, this is helpful. But ultimately you need to get to the announcement page. So this button that says opportunity source, if you will click on this, it will take you directly to that source. So in some ways, I look at this as kind of like a one-stop shop. In some ways, if you need something quick and you just want to enter in a quick database, this may be it for you. When I first started with this opportunity of working with Grant Ford, I became immersed because I spent a couple of hours in it. You don't realize you kind of get sucked in to this software system and this opportunity. So I will tell you, caution you, if you like to sit down in front of it, make sure you have some time to dedicate to just kind of exploring in here. So I'm going to go back to the previous page. Okay. Let's say we want to add this to our grant list. We see this opportunity. We want to add it to a grant list and we don't have time to go through it right now. So we're going to click add to list and we're going to create a new list and we're just going to type. Okay, and we're going to pick a color. So we'll pick green and click add. It's going to flag the next time you have this specific query. Hey, I've seen this and this is going to be on my grant list. Check your grant list. This is going to be your indication. Now, 1 second. Okay. I can access the page that I needed. Okay. All right. So we're going to refresh this page again. I'm going to show you. So if you were to refresh that page, you will see when you do this search, there it is right there. There's your indication that, yes, this is on my grant list page. You're like, okay, I've looked at this before. Let's say for this particular query search, you want to look at more than one of the matches that pops up, but you don't have time and you need to come back to this. You can do that as well. You can save the search under save and load. And we can save it as type 2 diabetes. And then it will also prompt you for an email alert. I have Grant Ford emails come to my mailbox once a week. You can do once a week, every day, once a month, and hit save. So now every week I will get a notification of any upcoming type 2 diabetes opportunities. If there aren't any, you will still get a notification from Grant Ford about additional grant that may align with your interest. Do you have any questions on that?
Meredith, someone wants to know if the search engine requires a UNTHSC.
Our subscription is through, through UNTHSC, yes.
So they have to be on the VPN to get into it?
Yes, they do. You have to use your UNT credentials to get into it. Okay. The next thing I want to show you is how you can use these filters along the side to tailor your search to what you need. And I'm going to show you an extreme situation real quick. Okay, we're going to reset the filters. All right. Sometimes when searching in Grant Ford, you need to think broad and then work your way down to more specifics. If you start with a certain specific topic, it may not populate, but if you work broad and you work your way down, you have a little bit more success, I should say, finding information. So we are going to look for eye research. In any of the keywords or phrases, we are going to type diseases of the eye. Okay, so before hitting this query search, there's 26,893 available opportunities. Okay, so we're going to hit search, and that brings it down to 340. And let's be real, we don't have time to search 340 opportunities. So what we're going to do is we're going to play with these filters on the side. So we're going to go for a time frame of February 1st, 2023 through the end of 2023. Okay. In terms of funding, specifically, if we're going to include foundational funding, the minimum we search for, Zoe and I typically search for, is $50,000 because we want to make sure that your time is fruitful and we don't want to waste anyone's time or effort for something smaller than that. So we're going to enter an amount of $50,000 and I'm going to enter it up to 2 million. In this amount section, do not use decimal points or commas because it'll skew your numbers. And I've done that once and that turned into $50 and $200. That was a waste of my time. So don't use the commas or the decimal points. Okay, and under sponsor type, for this situation, I'm going to hit foundation because after this, I'm going to segue over into Zoe. Okay, so we went from 340 matches down to 20. So that helps when you're wanting to pinpoint something that may be of interest to you in your research. So I'm going to look at the Manning Foundation because the average total giving per year is $250,000. Again, it breaks it down into description, your sponsors. This particular opportunity is through Wells Fargo. We just passed the deadline of September 22, but there's an anticipated deadline in September of 2023, which we'll put on our radar and make sure we get that information out. Eligibility, application types. This, even though this is a foundation, this is also a limited submission. So that's important too. So this will be created through InfoReady. So the best fit for the science will be submitted on behalf of the university. It's specific to Texas. Activity locations must happen in Texas. And in categories, this is for medical sciences, health, and education. So again, let's just look and see if we can look at the funding page. And this, you will be directed directly towards Wells Fargo philanthropic private foundations page. Well, it will provide the information that you just saw on the previous page. As Zoe mentioned previously, she and I work very close together and we talk daily and we're like, we found this opportunity. Who do we know that this could be a fit for? And so I'm going to turn this over to Zoe so she can talk more about what we do. Yes,
So I have a
ma'am.
question. Is there a way to just pull up things that are unique to Texas, you know?
Yes, there are.
Where the eligibility would, you know, just because that would kind of cut down on the competition too, huh?
Yes, there are. Due to the time constraints, I didn't go through that filter section, but underneath, let me share this again. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, so here, after the sponsor type, activity locations and applicant locations, you can put Fort Worth if you want to, right? And it still leaves your result at 20. So you are more than welcome to play with all of this. If, you know, like I said, if you don't have access, contact me. If you need a one-on-one tutorial, I'll come over and spend an hour with you and we'll play with this. So very happy to help you. I'm here for you guys. Zoe, I'll let you take it.
We end at 2 o'clock, is that right?
More or less.
And that's fine, you know, that's fine with me. I understand.
Zoe, go ahead. You know,
I don't have as much to add as Meredith and Dr. Gregory. You know, I think Meredith explained that my role is, in terms of research funding, is to work very closely with her because I know lots about fundraising and lots about writing grants for private foundations and not as much about the science. And so I've been here about a year and I started this partnership with the research enterprise so that I'm not sending you things that don't make any sense for you. I'm not making mismatches between your research and the private funding opportunities. I have some similar databases that I have access to, where I can do some searching if I know your research interests. I love that feature in Grant Forward where they can create a profile and then we know their research interests. That's super helpful. But you know, the private funding from private foundations is especially great for early stage investigators, young researchers. It's the small funding, relatively small funding that you need to get that preliminary data so that you can get to the next level and the really big stuff. So that's what I'm here for. We've been, you know, pretty successful in finding some unique opportunities, some opportunities that we've not pursued in the past, and in matching those to members of the faculty with particular research interests. And we just want to do more and more and more of that, you know, to bring more funds to bear for your work. That's what I'm here for. So we've had just, you know, it's small potatoes compared to the research enterprise as a whole, but in the last year, we've been awarded $2.5 million from maybe, I don't know, a couple dozen foundations for various projects here at the Health Science Center. And, you know, at the beginning, it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but at the end of the year, 2.5 million has done a lot of good work. So there are many private foundations, both locally, regionally, and nationally that we pursue. We've submitted from my office, and I'm just a one-person shop, I've submitted over 60 applications, created 60 opportunities for grants from UNT HSC for private funding in the last year. So I'm willing, I'm ready. I'll do whatever needs to be done, and I will very carefully work with Meredith and Dr. Gregory on occasion to distribute opportunities that I think should come to the attention of the faculty. So,
Zoe, can I ask you, how do you think the success rates are for private foundations versus, you know, do people have a better chance, maybe that first grant coming from a foundation than from going to NIH? What do you think?
I mean, what I hear from the researchers, particularly the younger researchers, is, you know, how much difficulty they're having finding that initial funding. Since we've sort of just started to focus on this, so I wouldn't say, oh, wow, all of the junior faculty should come to me and I will get them a grant. I wish that were so, but it's not. But I think we've had some success with just this relatively small number of private foundations we've applied to this year. They don't move as quickly as we'd like them to move. And I'm not sure how fast the government funding does, but sometimes you send your application in and 6 months later, you're still waiting to hear something. And that's tough for the researchers. You know, I understand that you have projects you want to move forward. So we just try to keep after them. And we're looking, as Meredith said, every day. We talk every day. We're looking every day. We're discussing opportunities that one or both of us come across that we think might be suitable for your work. And we'll try to put as many of those in front of you as we can.
Well, and I think the other thing for people to think about is the strategy of applying for private foundation funding and NIH. You can't get both for the same project, but you double the chances you're going to get one of them.
Right. Yeah.
And so one thing to look at is kind of the turnaround time, et cetera, because you wouldn't want to turn down your, you know, you find out you got the foundation money, you say, well, I got to take it, and then have to turn down an NIH grant. But that's another strategy of kind of having basically the same proposal go to a couple different places just to increase the chance that one of them will get funded. Again, I'm going to say it really carefully. You cannot be funded for two for the same thing.
Right.
That would be not good.
Yeah. We do. I do love it when we can capitalize on a proposal that a researcher has already put together so that we don't have to ask them twice. Fill this out, create this narrative, you know, da 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 da. If there's an opportunity to use something they've already prepared, that is super. Because we don't want any of you wasting your time, for sure. One thing that you will notice about the private foundation funding is a lot of times the requirements for the application are what must appear nominal to you as a researcher. Some of the private foundations that we're pursuing are incredibly sophisticated, and it's just like applying to the NIH in essence. Some of them are, you know, just send us a description of your work and give us a budget and we'll get back to you. And it really is as simple as that. So sometimes it seems almost ludicrous what you would be submitting. Sometimes the requirements are very NIH-like for the reporting afterwards. And sometimes they're send us a summary at the end of the year telling us how the work went. So it just depends.
Well, like, for example, for the graduate students, you know, if we have an international graduate student, we have to have them apply to some foundation that doesn't care about their citizenship status.
Right.
Because both NSF and NIH require a green card.
Right. Right.
So, you know, that's again, for you guys to be thinking about, how can I get money for my students, especially if you have international students.
Yeah, and I am trying to look more at, there are some larger foundations that will actually, you know, will fund fellowships, will fund residencies, will fund postdoc.
Yeah,
that
we
sort
just
of
got,
thing.
we had 2 students who just found out they got funded by the American Heart Association.
That's wonderful. Yeah, so there are opportunities like that out there. There are some larger foundations who will, like, you know, underwrite, you know, 4 fellowship positions for a university in a year. So we're looking into those types of options. We're looking to make those connections and build those relationships with those larger foundations so that we can take advantage of that, like other institutions do. So
Awesome. Meredith, you want to wrap up by telling them a little bit about intramural funding through your office?
Yeah, okay, real quick. We have intramural funding. The ESI deadline, early stage investigator deadline, just passed. But the bridge funding is up, and then the competitions are up, I should say. Proposal deadline of January and February competitions have been created in info ready. If you go to UNT HSC/REAP and hit enter, it'll bring you to this page. Click on apply and it will direct you to info ready. If you like to go for a competition in January or February, click on either the link and it will route you to the competition. More will be coming. I just want us to get through the holidays and then we'll start launching competitions for the spring of 2023. We also have a team science competition and that deadline is February 15th. That competition is also up on the REAP webpage. If you go ahead to Team Science and click apply, it will route you over there as well, right here. Team Science program, cycle 1.
Thank
Yep.
you. So
You're welcome.
you got internal money, you got foundation money, you got federal money, you got help from 3 people who are dying to help you.
yes.
Go get them. Thanks everybody for participating. Let us know. I did send some of y'all my slides that so they have the links to the sites and this is recorded. So we'll have it up in case you want to look at it again.
Perfect.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
Thanks,
all. Appreciate
everybody.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Mhm.